And the last part of that job search in one diagram is understanding company needs. And that's kind of easy, can be easy, at least at a surface standpoint, to find out, what are the company needs, because they'll post job descriptions. And you can look at the job descriptions, go online and look at their job descriptions, and you can, do some research, and this will be your action step, do some research and pull samples of those job descriptions. They could have the same title for different companies or related titles, but they might describe the job in slightly different manners because they might emphasize different parts. Some tasks and some roles in a particular job are more important than others. Maybe if you're, we're using that accounting manager, maybe somebody's looking at, how you manage the accounting functions from a general ledger standpoint might be real important, where others might be emphasizing cost accounting, and others might be like, have to do extra stuff where you might be also the benefits manager, manage the benefit program, especially for a smaller company. So it can really vary by title. So, start looking at some of those examples and think to yourself, would I want to do that? It might be the title I'm looking at, maybe a nice company, but way to describe it, would I want to do that? You'll find lots that you would like to do, and particularly in the end where we might want to get a job because we got bills to pay and stuff, sure. Remember, there's no perfect job, so don't limit yourself too much so you're not applying. It's better to apply and get out there and even get practice with interviewing by going on interviews, even if they don't work out. It's fine to do that. And work out you might not even want to pursue it anymore after the first interview. That's your choice. And think about, would you want to do that? As you're going through the process, and as you go through the process and actually doing things like interviews, you'll learn even more detail about the company needs. You'll have the ability to ask questions and ask clarifying questions to see and understand what the company is hiring for in that particular position. And look at the formal and informal communications they might be doing too, as far as, formally, what are they saying, but maybe informally with their body language, or how people in the office or factory environment are interacting with each other. They're kind of communicating through body language too as well. And so you're understanding that company, and you're understanding the company needs, and then how you would fit within those company needs. And don't forget that fit and culture is very important. And as you go through the process, understand the company culture. Understand what you want. What type of culture do you want to be in? Because it's going to go together. You might have a great job that you love the job. It really matches up with you well, but the culture of the company is so toxic that you can't stand it there. In fact, that might be, for many of you watching this, you might be in that kind of environment right now. You just are not happy. If you could just do your job part, it'd be fine. But it's the politics of the things that are going on, or it's your boss that's just terrible, or just the overall company culture that's causing you to want to make a change. So if you make a change, you don't want to go into a new place that's going to be, not a cultural fit for you. Remember, it's best when they match together. And in the end, remember that you have the power. In the end, you can go through this whole process. You're learning about them, they're learning about you. They'll eventually, if it all works out, will make you an offer. And then you have the power to decide, I'm not going to accept this offer, or I will accept this offer, or we need to negotiate a little bit more. Culturally, or your policy about vacation is a little too small. I'm willing to take the job, but I need an extra week of vacation. These are all things that are negotiable. Everything's negotiable. You may say no, but everything's negotiable. And then you can always say no, that you have the power. Okay, so now we've reached the end of this section here where you're doing a lot of this research and all that and understanding your desires, your KSA, and these company needs, pulling them all together and really in a more formalized manner. And so we really take your action step is to review your work real deeply. I mean, really think through this type of stuff and really think about this, because this is what's going to, start how you're going to be starting to communicate with these companies, these organizations. And look for patterns. Are there certain patterns emerging? Like, boy, you really like these type of jobs or this type of work that you could do. And then you can really hone in and use that quality type of, job search. And we're going to talk about quality versus quantity here in a little bit, and really do some quality things for those great jobs, and maybe quantity, you're more sending out just lots of applications. So you have a balance between both. And what do you need to research more? Maybe you've done this process and you're like, boy, I really need to research more, or I need to learn a little bit more on certain areas. You'll see that as those patterns emerge. In the end, what's going to happen is you want to get a clear picture of yourself, of the environment, of the industry, of these jobs that are out there, and that everything is very clear so you can communicate that. You can communicate what you want. You can communicate how that links to the company needs. Your knowledge, skills, and abilities, you can communicate how that links to those job descriptions, how that links to those company. And if you're able to communicate those things, both in a written format or on a format like LinkedIn, a resume, CV, cover letters, follow-up letters, thank you letters, your personal website, all sorts of stuff we're going to learn in the course. That's very powerful. And certainly in interviews, that's where it really keys and really stands out, that communication ability, because you really know who you are and you know who they are, at least from just a general job description standpoint, and you're able to communicate that linkage between the two. And that is very, very powerful.